The chief executive, officials and lawmakers continue tour of Greater Bay Area. Police Commissioner Raymond Siu stresses the need to regulate demonstrations. Foreign Minister Qin Gang meets Philippines counterpart to discuss bilateral relations. Good evening and welcome to TVB News. Chief Executive John Lee and a delegation of lawmakers and government officials continued their Greater Bay Area tour in Shenzhen today. There they visited the headquarters of leading innovation companies. Many lawmakers were inspired by the technology and wished to bring them home. More than 80 lawmakers and officials were at the headquarters of world-leading electric vehicle company BYD this morning. The founder of the company, Wang Chuanfu, gave the delegation a tour in person. The delegation was given a first-hand look at this new energy vehicle that's still not yet available on the market. John Lee was interested in the vehicle and even tried out the steering wheel. The delegation later visited a laboratory where they saw an experiment to demonstrate how dangerous ordinary lithium batteries can be. BYD said its blade battery would not explode even if being crushed, heated or bent. The delegation was then split up into two groups in the afternoon. The group led by John Lee first visited drone maker DJI before meeting dozens of young Hong Kong workers and entrepreneurs in Shenzhen at the Qianhai Dream Workshop. The CE said these young people possess passion and confidence, adding many new industries are developing really well in Shenzhen. The other group, led by Chief Secretary for Administration Eric Chan, went on a tour of Tencent's headquarters. Secretary for Innovation and Technology Sun Dong said Hong Kong needs to have its own star industry in future. They then visited the Nantou ancient city to learn about the revitalization of historical sites. During the tour, they met a group of young Hong Kongers sightseeing there. The delegation will continue their four-day trip in Dongguan and Foshan tomorrow and are expected to meet with senior Guangzhou officials on Monday. Impressed by what they saw today, some lawmakers urged authorities to look into whether some of the BYD technologies could be used to tackle the city's traffic congestion. This comes after the delegation was introduced with this BYD Sky Shuttle system. It is an unmanned rail transit system with technology such as facial recognition. It can reach a maximum speed of 80 kilometers per hour. Lawmakers hope Hong Kong authorities can look into such technology and seek to improve the traffic congestion for residents in Kowloon. Others say the cost of building the system is low. Chief Executive John Lee tried traveling on the shuttle and said it felt like an on-the-air version of the city's light rail. He thinks the technology may be applicable in places with limited space. The Education Bureau approved the merger of two secondary schools, Caritas Charles Vath College in Tung Chung and Caritas Wu Cheng Chung Secondary School in the Southern District. The Southern District School will be relocated to Tung Chung starting from September next year. The decision came after considering the supply and demand of Caritas secondary schools in each district. Secretary for Education Choi Yuk-lin said the serious population aging problem in the Southern District has caused a surplus of school places, while Tung Chung is in great demand. Choi said authorities will offer support to students who wish to stay in the Southern District after the merger. During his recent visit to Hong Kong, Director of the Hong Kong and Macau Affairs Office, Xia Baolong, said demonstrations are not the only way to express opinions. Commissioner of Police Raymond Siu said today demonstrations should be regulated to avoid events being hijacked. Memo Sengai reports.
The passing out parade for 33 probationary inspectors and 123 policemen was held at the Hong Kong Police College this morning. These are the graduates. The soon-to-retire Deputy Commissioner of Police of the National Security Department, Edwina Lau, presided over the review ceremony. In her speech, Lau said while the city is relatively calm at present, there are still undercurrents in the national security situation, as she urged for vigilance. Raymond Siu, Commissioner of Police, thanked Lau for her contribution over the past 38 years, including the previous 3 years' work in national security. Siu also commented on the views made by Xia, who recently visited the city, saying there are many ways for the public to air their opinions, not just through demonstrations. The commissioner stressed demonstrations must be regulated to avoid events being hijacked. Commenting on the tags that individuals were required to wear in a recent rally, Siu denied the measure was disrespectful and insulting. Instead, he said it was a requirement. Musin 9, TVB News.
Today was the second day of Foreign Minister Qin Gang's 3-day official visit to the Philippines. He's expected to hold talks with Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. today. Earlier, Qin met with the country's Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo, and the pair agreed to work to resolve Beijing and Manila's maritime differences in the South China Sea. Daniel Rell tells us more.
Foreign Minister Qin Gang held talks with Philippine Foreign Affairs Secretary Enrique Manalo in Manila earlier today. The meeting came amid tensions in the South China Sea over disputed territories claimed by China and the Philippines. The Philippines has previously raised diplomatic protests at the presence of Chinese fishing vessels and what it calls China's aggressive actions in the strategic waterway. During the meeting, the two sides pledged to work together to resolve their maritime differences in the South China Sea and to deepen bilateral ties. Qin said the two neighbours need to work together to continue a tradition of friendship, deepen cooperation and properly resolve differences. He added working together would help promote peace and stability of the region and the world. Manalo said Manila's relations with Beijing are more than just their differences over the South China Sea.
These differences should not prevent us from seeking ways of managing them effectively.
Qin's visit comes just weeks after the Philippines announced the location of 4 additional U.S. military bases on its territory, 2 of which are facing north towards Taiwan. More than 17,000 Philippine and U.S. soldiers are conducting their largest ever joint military drills in the Philippines. The war games have been criticized by Beijing. Daniel Rell, TVB News.
The U.S. Supreme Court Friday blocked new restrictions set by lower courts on a widely used abortion pill, mifepristone. This delivers a victory to President Joe Biden's administration as it defends access to the drug in the latest fierce legal battle over reproductive rights in the United States. President Biden tweeted Friday, "I'll continue to fight attacks on women's health." Today, the Supreme Court stayed a decision that would have undermined FDA's medical judgment and put women's health at risk. The justices granted emergency requests by the Justice Department and the pill's manufacturer to put on hold an April 7th preliminary injunction issued by a district judge in Texas. The judge's order would greatly limit the availability of mifepristone while litigation proceeds in a challenge by anti-abortion groups. Former UK Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab defended himself in an interview with the BBC after resigning on Friday in the wake of the release of an independent investigation that found he bullied civil servants.
Look, I'm sure I've made mistakes over 4.5 years, but the question was whether any of this amounted to bullying. And I strongly believe if the threshold for bullying is so lowered that picking people up on bad work, straightening out a negotiation where breach of a cabinet set mandate has been taken place, changing teams so we get the very best out of negotiations, so we deliver on victims' parole, human rights reform. If we can't do those things, then ultimately it will be the public that pay the price.
Commissioner.
Adam Tolley, the King's Counsel who conducted the inquiry, found Raab acted in a way which was intimidating and was unreasonably and persistently aggressive. In a letter praising much of the work that Raab had done, British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said he accepted the resignation with great sadness. Sunak has now appointed Oliver Dowden, a senior cabinet official, as Deputy Prime Minister. Six Spanish Leopard tanks and 20 armoured personnel vehicles bound for Ukraine have left Santander port in northern Spain. The German-made battle tanks have not been used since the 1990s and had been mothballed in reserve. They required refitting and battle readiness tests after initial doubts as to whether they could go into combat again. Reuters footage showed the Leopard tanks and APC vehicles being driven onto a cargo vessel which sails under the flag of the Netherlands. The ship will carry the military hardware to Poland, where they will then be taken to Ukraine. Defense Minister Margarita Robles said earlier this month that Spain will send a total of 10 Leopard 2A4 tanks to Ukraine, and added that the armed forces were repairing the remaining 4. Spain has also trained 40 tank crew members and 15 mechanics at a military base in the northeastern city of Zaragoza. Other NATO countries, including Germany, Poland and Portugal, have promised to send a total of 48 Leopard 2 tanks to Ukraine. Thailand has reported the world's first fatal case involving the Omicron subvariant Arcturus. As it continues to spread around the world, confirmed cases of Arcturus have been on the rise, accounting for 10% of new COVID cases in the U.S., according to the country's Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Veronica Lin with more.
The first patient who died from Arcturus was an elderly expat in Thailand with underlying health issues. Thailand's health officials announced that this case showed the virus health risks, but does not reflect the severity. 27 cases of Arcturus have so far been reported in Thailand. However, between the 9th and 15th of this month, hospitalizations from the subvariant more than doubled when compared to the previous week. Officials believe that Arcturus is likely to become the dominant strain in the country soon. The new subvariant, Arcturus, also known as XBB.1.16, has spread to more than 30 countries and territories globally since it was first discovered back in January. The country with the most cases is India, with more than 10,000 confirmed daily cases. Some regions are to re-implement the mask mandate. Around 50 cases of Arcturus have been recorded in the UK. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said Arcturus makes up around 10% of new COVID cases in the U.S. and predicted that it will be a dominant strain locally. In Taiwan, where the mask mandate was recently lifted, about a dozen imported cases were recorded. Daily cases in Seoul have surpassed 10,000 5 days in a row. In Singapore, where cases are surging, the supply of hospital beds is tight. But local authorities said they are fully capable of providing timely and adequate treatment for patients. Veronica Lin, TVB News.
The U.S. is launching a 3-month assessment to determine ways that China could harm its interests and how the Pentagon can counterattack those threats. That's according to U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas. Mayorkas said the so-called 90-day department-wide sprint will examine how the U.S. is able to defend infrastructure, such as the electric grid, from Chinese attacks. He also said the department will bolster its screening and vetting to identify illicit travelers from China. Beijing has repeatedly criticized the U.S. of containing and suppressing China while urging it to stop smearing China. Back locally, the Hong Kong bus company KMB said it has conducted a final inspection of the 52 new electric buses. The company said the buses will start service after receiving the operation permit from the Transport Department. KMB celebrated its 90th anniversary at the Sha Tin depot today. For the first time, the public were able to see the bright green electric double-decker buses close up before they take to the road later this year. The company also set itself a target to increase the number of electric buses to 500 within 3 to 5 years. That's the news. Thanks for watching.